The Overwatch League Play-In Tournament is over. From those who finished from 7th to 12th in the regular standings, we now know the two teams that will be joining the top 6 in the playoffs that kick off next week. So today, I want to discuss what happened over the past couple of days, giving my thoughts on what happened in each of the series played, before taking a quick look at the confirmed playoff bracket, as well as recognising some of the awards handed out this week as well. With London and Seoul having biased for the second round of the Play-In Tournament, we first needed to determine who would face them with our first round matchups. This saw the 9th seed Guangzhou Charge face the 12th seed Chengdu Hunters, whilst the 10th seed Philadelphia Fusion played the 11th seed Shanghai Dragons, remembering this would be the first time that the hero Sigma took to the stage. The Charge took on the Hunters in the first match of Friday, with many including myself expecting the Charge to get business done. Predictably, Sigma took centre stage and was initially run by both sides on Ilios, but whilst Guangzhou stuck to a set composition that saw Farah and Doomfist paired alongside the Orisa and Sigma, Chengdu, despite scrappily taking the first point cap, quickly changed back to Bull Diva with a Farah and Somber, which was more similar to what they were running in Stage 4. It was clear from an early stage that Hopper was looking very strong and comfortable playing in the Sigma, giving his side the edge against these non-Sigma Chengdu comps, winning them the Lighthouse round. The Hunters did put up an impressive fight throughout, however, taking the round on Ruins, but again, they came out on the wrong side of a 99 to 99% fight on Well, resulting in the Charge taking the first map. Heading into Iconward, again Chengdu just didn't look that practiced playing around Sigma, with Elsa looking a lot better once he switched back onto Diva and played around Armang's Wrecking Ball. Their attack could only reach the bridge, and in reply Guangzhou gathered momentum, reaching their target quickly on the back of some dominant play from Nero's Farah, and Hopper again on Sigma. 2-0 up, Happy came in for Nero as the team stuck to Horizon, but this appeared to stifle their momentum, with his play on Reaper initially getting melted by Yang Xiaolong on Symmetra, who spearheaded his side to complete the map. The Charge managed to complete Horizon themselves, but took far longer as engagements got messier and messier. Jinmu's Junkrat then took centre stage to hold the second attack from Guangzhou, before coming out with a clutch tire on his second attack to give the Hunters the map win, making the score 2-1 in the series. The next two matches in the series told a similar story, on first Rialto and then Lijiang Tower. Nero returned, and with him the Charge went back to their previously successful Farah Doom Orisa Sigma comp, whilst Chengdu largely stuck to their favoured Farah Sombra Bull Diva comp, which occasionally switched on to Sigma or Symmetra. At this point, Eileen's Doomfist really started to get into a good rhythm, as it had in the other stages of the series, and his teammates started to take the initiative and grab a hold of the series as we predicted they would. The Hunters put up a decent effort on the Rialto attack, almost making it to the end, but from then on, they just started to get rolled. Guangzhou convincingly wrapped up Rialto in their reply, before dominating Lijiang with two 100-0 rounds that gave them the 4-1 series win, sending Chengdu home, despite their best efforts, with Eileen taking the Player of the Match award for his performance, from what was overall a very impressive Charge display. Guangzhou's win as the 9th seed rolled them into the round 2 match against the Seoul Dynasty, as it was the highest remaining seed, consequently making this next series that pitted the Shanghai Dragons against the Philadelphia Fusion, one for a chance to face the London Spitfire in the second round of the play-ins. This match didn't start out nearly as competitively as the one beforehand, with Shanghai dominating the early exchanges on Busan, taking 2 rounds quickly with ease 100-0, as they punished the ineffective Mei Reaper being played by Philly, with Youngjin's Doomfist having an immediate impact. This continued into King's Row, where Shanghai again kept up the pressure, finishing the map in good time. There was some light for the Fusion though, and that was in the Orisa Sigma mirror, with Poker on Sigma having a greater and more significant impact, playing really well with most of Philly's success coming from his plays on the hero. By gathering early momentum, finally Carpe and EQO were able to find value out of playing Mei Reaper on DPS, as Fusion rolled on through to complete the map in a very quick time. The Dragon's second attack could only make it to the middle of the second section, but in their own reply, Philly came up just short, with Youngjin again the main man, coming up with some huge clutch kills in overtime to end his opponent's attack and give his side a 2-0 lead in the series. The series was starting to look a lot closer now, with the two teams starting to get more comfortable on their respective styles, and this was highlighted especially in the next map, as they drew Anubis at 3-all, with Youngjin and Poco again standing out. It was noticeable, however, that the Fusion were gathering more and more momentum, which helped them finish the 4th map Gibraltar in an extremely quick time. And even though the Dragons crawled over the line in overtime themselves, Philly's Mei Reaper setup allowed them to have one of the most disgusting spawn camp holds I've ever seen, with Shanghai managing to progress the cart only 1.74 metres. 1.74. It should come as no surprise then that a Sigma ult from Poco, combined with an EQO Blizzard, was enough to see them win the map and take the score to 2-1. The tense back and forth action didn't stop here, with Lijiang Tower reaching 99 to 99% on both rounds that were played. Just on both occasions it was the Dragons who came up with the clutch kills to just edge it out and put them on match point at 3-1. Then came a slightly strange moment as we began to play King's Row for the second time in the series. This is obviously confusing, but long story short, Numbani wasn't working and both teams agreed to play on King's Row again. This will not be a repeat however, as Philly got business done on their attack, finishing the map before successfully holding at the choke after the first point, utilising the kits of May Reaper perfectly to stop Shanghai dead in their tracks, to claim the map and narrow their deficit to just 3-2. It won't surprise you to hear that Dorado was again a super close affair, with both sides reaching the finish on their initial attacks. More Pharaoh was played on this map, and this allowed Ding, who was subbed in only for the second time in the series, to pop off in the head-to-head against EQO. It came down to one final team fight, but pressure from Ding's Pharaoh, combined with follow-up from the excellent Youngjin, who would go on to take the Player of the Match award, saw the Dragons at last get over the line with a 4-2 series victory, despite the best efforts of Philly, who went down fighting, with Poker having a fantastic series himself on Sigma, despite his team now losing their chance to make the grand finals on their home stage. Our play-in second round matches were now decided. The London Spitfire would play the Shanghai Dragons at the beginning of the day, and the Seoul Dynasty would face the Guangzhou Charge, with spots in the playoffs beside the top 6 on the line. Now I'm sure many of you already know the outcomes to these two matches, but for those who don't, I would 100% recommend you go to watch the highlights of these matches, as they were fantastic, and there's absolutely no way I'm going to be able to do them justice with my brief recaps here. Hot Tub Ruber's pre-game suggested that London had been stomping in scrims since the release of the Sigma patch, which led many, including myself, to pick them for this contest against the Shanghai side that had battled their way past Philly the day before. The fascinating thing we discovered, right from the get-go, was that unlike the other competing teams that had played up to now, it was not London's off-tank player Fury who was on Sigma. Instead, it was their main tank Gesture, with Fury covering the Orisa pick. The Spitfire also committed from the outset to a Doom Reaper DPS duo, whereas with Diamin, the Dragons had a McCree or Widow to pair alongside Youngjin's Doomfist. Round 1 on Busan stayed back and forth, but just edged in London's favour, but round 2 was won much more convincingly by the Spitfire, who were looking just as strong as the rumours had suggested, with every member making key contributions. We then travelled to Numbani, that was now working unlike the day prior, only to the detriment of Shanghai, who were quite simply rolled, being full held after some sick plays from Prophet on Farah, who picked up a 4k barrage at one point, and losing the map after only 1 minute of London's attack, as they quickly won a teamfight and capped the needed percentage. Only 2 maps in, most thought that the Spitfire had the series in the bag, and would quickly mop up the 2 remaining maps they needed to advance. The Dragons decided to change things up by subbing out DM for Ding, who came in primarily to play the Farah, and even if their attack looked a little sloppy, it looked like the Dragons were about to finish Hanamura. That was until Prophet activated his 2018 Finals MVP mode, coming out on Tracer and cleaning house, facilitating a point behold that looked destined to lead to another London map victory. Yet despite this offensive collapse, Shanghai stood firm and miraculously managed to win a crazy overtime fight through Ding to hold point A and see them narrow the scoreline in the series to 2-1. Bat 4 would be played on Gibraltar, and Youngjin started to get himself more involved in the series with some vital picks to help Shanghai complete the map on their first attack. Just when it looked like all the momentum was in the Dragons' favour, as they almost stopped the payload in the first section, London managed to finally find a groove, with Prophet and Birdring getting picks whilst Gesture started to pound on Sigma, not forgetting Bedosen, who was hitting some key sleeps and bionades that saw them complete the map in a better time. On their second attack however, the Spitfire were caught off guard by a pirate ship comp protecting Youngjin's Bastion on attack. It picked up a huge distance in overtime, making it to the end of the second section. Everything pointed to a Shanghai win, especially as they looked to engage right at the end with an ultimate advantage. But a series of clutch plays across the London squad saw them flip the momentum and amazingly win the map to give them a 3-1 lead in the series. With Spitfire at match point, we went on to Lijiang, which remained close throughout. Round 1 went in the Dragons' favour, with a massive teamfight win thanks to Envy getting off a triple kill with Sigma after using his ultimate. A Ding rampage on Farah almost saw them close out the second round, but just at the end, London managed to zone Shanghai off the point to level it up. But just like in the Philly series, Youngjin started to pop off again, with support from Ding in the third round to win inside the map and give them a fighting chance with the series now at 3-2. With momentum in their corner, the Dragons rolled through King's Row to finish with an impressive time bank of over 2 minutes, whereas the Spitfire found themselves struggling in their own reply. They only took point A in overtime, and despite almost finishing, a great stall from Gamsu and Envy only saw them complete the map in overtime, giving Shanghai a chance to level at the series. They did not take this opportunity, however, and C9'd in their final attack, not the first time this had happened in the series either, meaning that King's Row ended in a draw. They bounced back brilliantly though on the next map Dorado, with Youngjin's Doom and Ding's Farah again propelling their side to the finish before convincingly holding up London on multiple occasions, which ended in them being wiped by Barrage midway through the second section to tie the series at 3-3 and send us to a deciding Game 8. And I'll mention it now, but Izzyaki was having a superb game on Ana as well during this series, with some very clutch sleeps and bionades, similar to Bedosen, with the pair having major impacts on their respective teams' successes. Map 8 would be on Ilios, and when the Spitfire saw Ding win the head-to-head against Prophet on Farah, it resulted in the Dragons taking round 1 at 99 to 99%, the writing seemed to be on the wall for the defending Overwatch League champions, especially when Shanghai reached 99% again on Ruins before London finally took control of the point. But again, with some clutch plays and a crucial Sigma ult at the end, they managed to shockingly turn things around to take us to an extraordinary third round on this 8th and final map. You couldn't turn away from the screen, with the action flipping back and forth. In the end though, experience won the day, with the Spitfire wiping a final desperate attack from Shanghai to win the map and thus this amazing series 4-3 to book their tickets to playoffs. Although eliminated, the Dragons put up an almighty effort that summed up their progression and development after Season 1, which has won over the hearts of many fans and will hopefully lessen the blow despite being an inch away from a historic victory. After such an exciting and nail-biting series, many just assume that the Guangzhou Charge will continue their recent run by quickly taking care of the Seoul Dynasty. Again though, the pattern continued of having the main tank playing Sigma, as this time it was Seoul's Marvel on him, whilst Michelle was on the Orisa. Given how this series played out, I want to focus in specifically on what it told us about how these teams were approaching playing around this meta. Map 1 on Busan was like a heavyweight boxing match that just went back and forth, with the first 2 rounds going to 99 to 99%, but eventually it was Seoul who were the ones to go on and win the map, to go 1-0 up in the series. Guangzhou's success came primarily from Nero's Farah or Eileen's Doomfist getting picks, combined with the significant damage output from Hopper's Sigma, whereas for the Dynasty, a greater burden was placed on the shoulders of Fitz's Doom and Fletcher's McCree or Reaper. What we saw in terms of the team's playstyle though, was that the Orisa players would try and use their Holt abilities to set up punches for their Doomfists, which allow Fitz and Eileen to pick up the first kills in teamfights, especially when supported by a Moira using Coalescence. At the same time, the Reapers of both sides would try and teleport into the backlines and try and cause as much chaos as possible, especially through pressure onto tanks and supports, with the first kills from either of these methods often swinging the teamfights. Seoul pressed their advantage on map 2 in King's Row, where they brutally used a mate to hold the choke just after the first point. And with the Dynasty playing aggressively onto the charge, they were able to power through on their own attack and quickly find themselves with a 2-0 lead to the surprise of many. Horizon will be the third map, and Seoul got lucky here on a number of occasions. On both their attacks, they were just about to lose teamfights when Guangzhou C9'd, allowing them to capture point B, and it was clear that the charge was starting to feel themselves a lot more compared to earlier in the series. And on their third attack, they really should have won, had Fitz and Fletter not clutched out on the final map to save a draw. This took us on to Rialto though, when Nero's Farah stole the show after he subbed back in after a couple of maps out. To begin with, Guangzhou got a lot more value out of their Sigma ultimates, which won them teamfights on numerous occasions after great follow-up that allowed them to finish the map. In reply, Seoul struggled to keep momentum going, with Nero pressuring them from the skies as Eileen picked up the scraps on the ground, and after being wiped just before the finish, the Charger won the map, making it 2-1. Li Shang, however, saw momentum shift once again, with the Dynasty simply looking the stronger side in the Doom Reaper mirror, giving them 2 convincing rounds back to back to win the map and go 3-1 up in the series, with Fitz and Fletter continuing to pop off, with great support from the rest of their teammates, with Jae-Hong in particular having a great series. It was now match point Seoul, and the pressure was on Guangzhou to respond. They scrappily fought their way through Icon Ward, with some key sleeps from Shu helping them progress through, and they just managed to finish the map in overtime after punishing the Dynasty for playing too aggressively. Their reply to this was fantastic though, with Seoul powering through the map themselves, with the team grouping up and aggressing following a pick from Fitz, but just saw them dominate the majority of teamfights. Point A was taken in a flash, and after Toby again got a couple of huge boops on the bridge onto the charged tank line, Seoul went on to finish the map with just under 3 minutes in the time bank. 1 tick was all they needed, and after a minute Guangzhou finally capitulated to the Dynasty onslaught, as they confirmed the series 4-1 by winning the map, finally seeing the organisation make the end of season playoffs after their failure last year. For the Charge though, it is a shame to see them drop out after their recent success and form. With the talented players on their roster, I'm sure they're going to bounce back in 2020. Now that we know that London and Seoul have made the playoffs following their success in the Play-In Tournament, let's take a quick look at how the playoff bracket now stands, although you can expect a full in-depth preview and predictions video regarding it in a few days' time. For anyone who doesn't know, the playoffs this year will be double elimination, meaning that teams will remain in the playoffs until they lose twice, with 1 loss placing them inside the losers bracket, which will allow the strongest teams that get caught up against other strong opponents in the earlier rounds a second chance of making the grand finals. With that in mind, the playoff bracket begins in the first round, with the first seed Vancouver Titans taking on the 8th seed Seoul Dynasty. The 4th seed Hangzhou Spark is up against the 5th seed LA Gladiators. The 2nd seed New York Excelsior by the 7th seed London Spitfire, was the 3rd seed San Francisco Shock, which has been placed against the 6th seed Atlanta Reign. On paper, all of these matchups promise to be very entertaining and exciting, especially factoring in how strong the competition should be, with everyone involved having a further week of preparation for the Sigma patch. As I said before, I'll delve into this a little deeper sometime next week. To end today's video though, I want to take a minute to recognise some of the awards that were handed out over the course of the Play-In Tournament. Firstly, let's start with the Role Stars, which was a new award for this year. The 2019 Overwatch League Role Stars class was described as the ultimate top-tier roster of the year, a standout team that represents the best of the best of professional Overwatch. Those eligible for this award had to qualify as part of the player impact rating system and were voted on by general managers, head coaches, broadcast talent, and members of the media. 4 players from each role were chosen, and they were as follows. Corey, Ding, Haxel, and Sinatra were chosen at DPS. Choi Hyobin, Gushue, Mano, and Super were selected at tank. And lastly, IDK, Kareev, Moth, and Twilight from the support role. These players will also receive some special recognition during the 2020 season, but this is an announcement that will be explained more soon. The other award that was handed out the day prior is one that I personally think is a little more significant, and that's the Dennis Avelka Award. Last year it was handed to Mickey, and he was there to pass it on to its newest recipient, who this year was Custer from the LA Valiant. Since 2018, he's been one of the most positive players in the league, and a fantastic leader, both on and off the stage, for both the Dallas Fuel and now the LA Valiant. Players and coaches alike have said how amazing he's been at keeping morale, even when the team performances were poor, which attests brilliantly to his personality and character. Custer has also been heavily involved with the Valiant Plays for St. Jude charity campaign to benefit childhood cancer research. Through special jersey auctions and stream subs, he's raised and donated more than $6,000, highlighting his excellent attitude of giving back to the community, certainly making him a worthwhile and deserving recipient of this year's award. And if you want to read more into it, I'd highly recommend you read the article regarding Custer and this award, which was posted on the Overwatch League website, and I'll leave a link to it down below. With that, however, we reach the end of my play-in tournament review, and I'd like to thank you for watching. As I said already, I'm planning to assess the state of the playoffs in a separate preview and predictions video I'll be looking to upload over the coming days. So if you enjoyed and don't want to miss out, please like, subscribe, and follow me on Twitter for continuing competitive Overwatch coverage and content. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.